Hi, my name is Harold Gutmann. I cover North Carolina. I'm here with my colleague Steve Wiseman, who covers Duke. And welcome to Our Game, a video production by the Durham Herald-Sun, where we talk about our game in the state of North Carolina, which is, of course, college basketball. And we have a very special edition today where we talk about one game in specific, the very first Duke-Carolina game. Weather permitting, it'll tip off 9 p.m. at the Smith Center. And let's get right to it. Steve, what are some of the keys for Duke today?
Well, one thing I want to watch for is Jabari Parker and Rodney Hood are their leading two scorers. They've never experienced a Duke-Carolina game. Rodney Hood went to the game last year when he was sitting out while he transferred. Jabari Parker's watched it on television, but this will be their first real experience about it, so I kind of want to see how that goes. And, you know, Jabari has really been coming on lately. He had a big game on the weekend against Boston College, 29 points and 16 rebounds. And he kind of played angry, and Rodney Hood said the other day that that something kind of sparked him, and he really wants to keep that anger going, they keep that chip on his shoulder. And he's become a more aggressive scorer. He's not just settling for three-point shots anymore, which is making him more effective. That's going to be a big key for Duke, is for him to have another game like that, and obviously for Carolina to try to stop him from doing those things.
Yeah, you know, it's funny you mentioned the newcomers to this series. I think a big key for North Carolina is Kennedy Meeks, the freshman center from Charlotte. They're 5-0 ever since Kennedy Meeks and Leslie McDonald entered the starting lineup. Now, granted, they haven't played a team the caliber of Duke yet. They haven't played a ranked team during that winning streak, but they have won all 5 games by double digits, a couple of them on the road, one at Notre Dame, which obviously was a tough place for Duke to play.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think when you look at where the advantage is for North Carolina, I think a big one that stands out is the inside play. You know, Duke doesn't have a traditional back-to-the-basket, bulky center like Kennedy Meeks. You know, he's up at 280, 285. And if he could muscle his way in there, it seems like that could be an advantage. You know, most people think, well, Duke has the advantage on the perimeter. If UNC could get a lot of their, you know, generate some scoring inside, win the rebounding battle, a lot of second chance points. That's kind of what they've been doing during this current win streak. That might be an edge for North Carolina there.
And those are the kind of teams that have given Duke a hard time. I mean, look at Syracuse. They block a lot of shots. They were around the basket to get rebounds, and that's really a tough thing. Now, Duke has improved on their interior play since those 2 losses to Clemson and Notre Dame. They've become more effective rebounding. Emil Jefferson's made a big difference there. He's thin, we all know, and
right.
Talking about Kennedy Meeks, he'll have the advantage there in the physicality. So Emil's going to have to slink his way through there and try to find a way to be successful. And he has in many cases, but this will be another big test.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. Duke actually does out-rebound their opponents, which I think is surprising to some people. That Duke they do find a way, like you said, to out-rebound people. And obviously, if you're looking at, on the other hand, what North Carolina needs to do to maybe cover up one of their weaknesses, they do need to defend the perimeter. You know, Duke they're shooting 42% from 3 as a team, which is better than any single player in North Carolina. Their best three-point shooter is Marcus Page at 37%. And, you know, it's one thing going back to this past Saturday when Carolina played Notre Dame. They let Notre Dame hit their first 4 3-pointers, fell down 19-9. And maybe it's a good experience going towards the Duke game, because then they kind of shut down. They really got out. You know, they defended the on-the-ball. Defense was a lot stronger. Notre Dame only made 2 of their last 17, and North Carolina kind of took off from there. So, you know, the key there, you got to, like I said, you got to stay in front of the guy guarding the ball. Duke just loves, if they get a little penetration inside, to kick it back out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And get to, you got to stay with your guys. Also, you know, those offensive rebounds, Duke loves those unsettled situations. They get open threes off offensive rebounds, which again goes back to controlling the boards on the inside. So I think that'll certainly be a key. Right. One other thing I'll say is, you know, the home court advantage doesn't seem to be much of an advantage in this series. Duke's won the last 2 times at the Smith Center. Obviously, the 3-pointer that Austin River has hit at the buzzer. And then going in and beating Carolina on senior night. Roy Williams has never lost a game on senior night until last year, and Duke really took it to him from the start. So I know, again, we don't know what the crowd's going to look like, what the weather's going to look like. I assume everyone's going to find a way to get to the Duke-Carolina game. But
I would think even on sleds and, you know,
yeah, right, snowshoes,
like a Iditarod kind of thing, they'll get there.
Yeah, so, but it'll certainly be interesting. But Duke's certainly shown that they could win a game at the Smith Center. So I don't know how much of an advantage that'll actually be for North Carolina. So, you know, again, we'll look forward first Duke-Carolina game of the season. We were just the women's game on Monday night, which just kind of shows you never know what's going to happen at one of these games. 2 freshmen for Carolina, Diamond DeShields' father, Diamond DeShields and Alicia Gray combined for 54 points in their first ever game at Cameron, and Carolina pulled off a pretty big upset.
So much for newcomers being intimidated by the situation.
That's right. That's
yeah,
exactly
so
right.
You never know.
Yeah, so you never know what's going to happen. We look forward to covering it on Wednesday night, and we'll talk about it on the next edition of Our Game.